I wasn't sure if the pun was intended. My wife's shivering hand squeezed mine as tears ran down her chin. "Don't worry, we'll get through this," she sobbed, maybe more to convince herself than me. Frozen with fear, I couldn't speak. Only one thought circled through my mind. I'm too young to die. You don't anticipate this kind of shock when seeking medical advice for acid reflux, do you? Yes, heartburn makes your life miserable. It robs you of sleep, ruins your meals, and embarrasses you with burp and gas outbursts in the worst places. At worst, you fear ulcer, which is, of course, horrible. But death? You don't expect that. If you frequently suffer heartburn, you should, however, prepare for the worst. I'll tell you why. Not being able to sleep that night, I Googled the health risks of acid reflux. What I found was terrifying. Recent studies prove that acid reflux is the #1 cause of not just 1 or 2, but 6 types of fatal cancers. And we're talking strong connection. Heartburn increases your risk of cancer in the larynx by 286%, cancer in the hypopharynx by 254%, cancer in the oropharynx by 247%, cancer in the tonsils by 214%, cancer in the nasopharynx by 204%, cancer in the sinuses by 140%. Sum it all up, and you're 1,345% more likely to get one of these 6 cancers than does a person who doesn't suffer heartburn. 1,345%. That's a lot. Acid reflux is more dangerous than smoking, the researchers concluded. Millions of people die every year because they don't take their heartburn seriously enough. And there I was, ready to be another name on a grave. It wasn't my fault, really. I'll explain in a second how I finally got rid of my acid reflux using a simple home remedy that only takes 4 or 5 minutes to make. You most likely have all the ingredients sitting in your kitchen. So, if you want, you should be able to take the first sip within 10 minutes from now. Had I known about this remedy before, I would probably not have received the dire news that day. But with what I knew then, I couldn't have done much differently. Like most people suffering heartburn, I was loading up on proton pump inhibitors, PPI medications, thinking they were safe. Well, they are not. According to a study from Washington University in St. Louis, PPI drugs increase your risk of dying within a year by a terrifying 50%. Another study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association proved that PPI pills drastically increase your risk of stroke. And in a new study from the University of Hong Kong and University College London, published in the peer-reviewed journal Gut, these same drugs were found to double your risk of stomach cancer. Maybe worst of all, they also double your risk of kidney disease. Hey, I can live with stomach ulcers, but I can't live without my kidneys or stomach. Other heartburn medications, such as antacids and H2 blockers, such as Tums and Zantac, may or may not be a little bit safer. However, numerous studies have also found a row of life-threatening side effects from these drugs. Putting it bluntly, it's a matter of life and death that you naturally address your acid reflux immediately today. Don't put it off another day. Plus, these drugs cost a fortune. When my insurance company stopped co-paying for my medication a few years back, I had to shuffle out over $5,000 a year for heartburn prescriptions. Even after I turned to cheaper over-the-counter PPIs, I was still paying close to $2,000 a year for drugs that were actually murdering me. Okay, finally, some good news. Additional testing luckily revealed that my cancer diagnosis was a false alarm, false positive they called it. At that point, however, I was informed enough to realize I had gotten a second chance at life. But it wouldn't last long unless I cured my acid reflux. But if you manage to cure your acid reflux, just imagine the money you'll save on medications every year. We're talking pocketing an extra $1,000, $4,000, or even $8,000 every single year, tax-free. That's the greatest return on investment I can think of, with zero risk, because if it doesn't work, you lose nothing. But it has to happen today. Why? It's bad enough to go through another agonizing day with acid reflux when you know there is something that could help you, isn't it? Not being able to eat anything you like, being kept up half the night with a burning throat and a bloated stomach, having an almost guaranteed ulcer down the road, if not already. These are bad enough on their own. But add to this the knowledge that your heartburn is putting you at over 1,300% increased risk of 6 types of fatal cancers. 1,300%! That makes it pretty likely that you will get one of those cancers if you don't tackle your heartburn today. Plus, knowing the common medications available for acid reflux cause kidney failure, stroke, dementia, and stomach cancer. Worst of all, this can happen any day. One minute you're fine, the next you're coughing up blood and rushing to a hospital with stage 5 throat cancer. And you know that as you're lying in the ambulance, you will be thinking you should have done something about your acid reflux sooner. You know you will. You still have time today, unlike at that point it will be too late. The time to act is now. It's an ugly truth, but it has to be said. So why don't you click the order button below now and begin addressing your acid reflux within minutes? You risk nothing and have your life and health